Before making my animals and fighting games list, I received a request from viewer Max for the top 10 cats in fighting games, which I initially thought would be improbable, but when researching for the animal list, I noticed there was bountiful fighting game representation for characters themed around the cat family. There's a plethora of options alongside the standard house cats, such as jaguars, tigers, panthers, lions, and the other ones that don't have Major League US sports teams named after them. So for this video, we're looking at the best cat, or I guess feline-themed, characters in fighting games. Calling them all cats rolls off the tongue more easily than saying feline-themed characters every time. I'll be ranking these cats on how much they embrace the feline theme in mind, body, spirit, and moveset, or just being a cat. So these characters can range from humans wearing cat masks to fully quadrupedal animals. The only limitation is one character per series of origin, and helping me in this video is my resident fan of fluffy animals, Judgment Meter. So are you ready to assess these fighting game kitties?
Actually, I don't really like cats at all. They're kind of evil.
Not much of a cat person.
Alright, wait, what? But your voice, your online persona, isn't it expected of you to like cats?
They're always plotting, always scheming.
Huh, I guess that makes sense. Could you at least pretend to be enthusiastic about cats for the duration of this video?
I've been playing a character for the last 3 years, so what's another 20 minutes?
Huh, great then. As I was saying, here's my cat-loving co-host, Judgment Meter.
I like fluffy things.
Okay, this intro skit's getting too long, so here are our top 10 cats in fighting games. Number 10, Neko Arc from Melty Blood. Let's start off with a bizarre character. If you remember when Street Fighter Cross Tekken put Toro and Kuro in the game and they were incredibly hard to hit because they were short cartoon cats, that's what we have here, and Melty Blood did it first. She feels like a joke character, but she's lethal and one of the most powerful characters in universe. She's like Batmite or Mr. I'm not pronouncing his name from Superman, being tiny creatures who have infinite magic powers that can just go between dimensions whenever they please, and break the fourth wall because they can act as non-serious characters if the moment is right. Neko is a catified version of the main character Arquaid, with a pretty different moveset. She takes out cat claws, does this slide kick that manifests itself into a giant paw, and can make pure sound to the enemy with a piercing screech. Not to mention all the reality bending moves that she has. And while I called Neko one of the strongest characters in-game according to backstory, she has a seemingly stronger counterpart with Neko Arc Chaos. So if you truly want to break reality in the Melty Blood games, have a match with these two. Number 9, Cham Cham from Samurai Showdown. Cham Cham is a jungle girl who fights like a cat and wears fake paws to complete her theme. I don't know if she thinks she's a feral cat or if she's just really committed to her act. Either way, she runs and scratches like a cat, along with playing with her opponents like they're a ball of yarn. To go with her wild theme, she options for a boomerang as her main weapon, being one of the most unique weapons in a series full of swords and similarities. She has two close relationships in the series, one being her brother Tam Tam. You can tell they're related because both of their names rhyme and they share... they're both human? The other companion is her chimpanzee, Paku Paku, who participates with her during intros and outros.
Aww, that's an unlikely friendship.
Did you expect her to have some cliché animal companion from the cat family? Cham Cham keeps you surprised.
I don't know. I guess I wasn't expecting her to have a friend at all. But that's really sad.
Well, what if I told you Tam Tam and Paku Paku are the same character? For failing to protect his village from a robbery, divine punishment turned Tam Tam into a chimp. Well, I guess there are worse ways to be fired from your job than getting an email. Of course, with Cham Cham being a cat girl, I can't help but compare her to a different cat girl. No, not her, she's getting discussed later on this list. I mean the anime one. And for those who don't know, this is Aisha Clan from Outlaw Star. She's also a cat girl with poofy 80s hair and a repeating single syllable as her name. Anyone else think they were separated at birth? Number 8. Kintaro from Mortal Kombat. Kintaro is a beast that is part tiger, part dragon, belonging to the Shokan race. I think there's a bit of human in there too. I'm not sure if all Shokan are part human or if that's just the elite ones like Goro. The point is, Kintaro's a four-armed big guy with tiger properties that acts as a sub-boss before you fight final boss Shao Kahn. As time went on, Kintaro became more feline, with extra features added on with each successive appearance in Mortal Kombat media. In his first appearance in Mortal Kombat 2, his skin had the same texture as Goro's, with tiger stripes and a tiger nose. By Mortal Kombat 9, his face and body became more tiger-like with fur all over, and the Mortal Kombat X comic added more fur to his face, making it look like he had a face transplant with an actual tiger. Kintaro actually had an emotional scene in the MKX comic when Earthrealm teamed up with the Shokan, and Shiva dramatically reacts to Kintaro's warrior's death. He's come so far from simply saying, "I will eat your heart" in Mortal Kombat 9. In hindsight, maybe I was selfish by not letting him do that. I mean, am I really using all of my heart at once? I could have offered him a little nibble of it.
A little nibble means you're dead.
It would have been worth it for Kintaro. Number 7. Dexter in Injustice 2. When looking at cats in Injustice, I first thought of Catwoman, but she's just a lady in a catsuit, out-catted by Cheetah, who has the cat part of herself fused with her DNA. However, Dexter is the most cat-like out of all of them, being a biologically accurate cat. He may only be an assist character to Atrocitus, but he's a vital part of Atrocitus' playstyle. Once Atrocitus fills up his trait meter, he can summon Dexter to keep opponents away or fire red vomit furballs to do damage over time. Dexter's backstory is that he was a normal cat who was abandoned, found an owner, saw the owner murdered, and then was almost murdered himself by being thrown down a river.
This is sad.
Followed by him being chosen as the Red Lantern rep for Earth, allowing him to turn his rage and thirst for vengeance against his owner's killers into superpowers, and teaming up with Space Rockman Atrocitus, giving this scary-looking alien a rather normal animal companion.
Aww.
And if you wanted to see one of the fully fleshed out playable cat-themed characters as the Injustice choice, take solace in the fact that I enjoy playing or watching both of them more than Atrocitus. Catwoman and Cheetah reference Seinfeld when they fight each other. I instantly like a character when they bring a Seinfeld reference to a fight.
Mine a real Catwoman.
We better be talking about claws.
And they are spectacular.
Number 6. Eriko from Bloody Roar. Eriko became more normal as the Bloody Roar games came out. She was the game's final boss in the first Bloody Roar game, being a 9-year-old girl who was experimented on by the evil organization Tylon. This caused her first form to be a cat-like older version of herself, and her final form to be a chimera beast. In Bloody Roar 2, the creators thought, we need a cat character, make her playable. Well, technically Long is a tiger, which is from the same animal family, but we need a house cat in the series. With the story skipping 5 years into the future, we learn she is weaker than her former final boss status due to the diminishing effects from the experiments by Tylon, so she can only partially transform into a cat person now, retaining some of her human qualities after morphing. Compared to her fellow roster members who can go full animal, she knew she had to get stronger, so she sought out training from Long, which is almost symbolic, with him being a literal tiger and she being a mere kitten. Her role in the story is more fun-loving once we reach Bloody Roar 3. She joins the fight because she has teenage girl problems, like being bored and running late to school while trying to outdo every other late school girl in anime by upgrading from having a slice of toast hanging from her mouth to a full burger. She also has the problem that the sleeves on her jacket are hardly ever the right length, but I won't criticize her fashion choices. Many of her attacks fit the Catgirl motif, being nimble motions that jump off the walls, pounce on, and scratch her opponent. Have fun trying to catch her considering how much she loves jumping around. Number 5. King from Tekken. The Luchador King enters the ring with all of his grappling techniques at full force, and his mask that makes his head look like he's part realistic jaguar. He's less about juggling his opponent like the majority of the Tekken cast and more about reading his foe and chaining together command grabs to imitate pro wrestling lucha libre fighting styles, reflecting his wrestling career in-game. In the history of Tekken, there have been two different kings, just as there were two Kumas. Both kings play the same, as the second king acted as a replacement for the first king after the time skip in Tekken 3, which also explains why King was never affected by the sorrows of aging. King spent a majority of his free time helping orphanages with paychecks from his wrestling career. This king was killed off by final boss Ogre before Tekken 3, making way for a new fresh face, or mask, with King 2. We just call him King for short because you wouldn't even know he's a different person if you didn't follow his backstory. King 2 was actually one of the orphans who benefited from the first king's charity and his assistant before his death, which gave him reason to continue his master's legacy and wear the mask.
Is that a mask or is that really his head?
Okay, so the thing is, we never see him without the mask, and he only speaks with jaguar growls that produce normal subtitles, and everyone stands around like this is not weird or anything.
So unclear.
Technically, we all know it's a mask with a fancy facial design, but if you were like me as a kid, you just thought he was a beast man based on how he uses real animal roars to communicate. I realized the truth once his Tekken 4 design came out. That flowing hair simultaneously gave it away and creeped me out. Number 4, Misfortune from Skullgirls. She's the only one of her race we seemingly see in the Skullgirls universe. She was abandoned as a kitten and raised by the Fishbone Gang, a thieving group of Daigonians or fish people who were mischievous but not evil. When stealing the life gem from the Medici mob, the mob murdered the Fishbone Gang, including Misfortune. Or so they thought. After the theft of the gem, Fortune ate it for safekeeping, and the being that holds the life gem is granted immortality when it's in their possession, meaning Misfortune survived with a new ability made possible by the attempted murder. Since the Medicis cut Fortune into pieces, it was not her last resort, and she was able to pull her body parts back together thanks to her inability to die, allowing her to now remove parts of her limbs and even her own head to fight with them as living weapons. This creates her most unique mechanic in-game, where she can take off her own head and use it as an obstruction on the field or as basically an assist character.
She plays with her head like it's a ball of yarn. Uh-oh.
That's only a self-imposed reward if she's victorious. In battle, besides throwing it like a bowling or volleyball, she can have it leap around and interrupt the opponent's moves, or have it as part of her combos if placed on a certain part of the stage. It can even throw her opponent where the head gnaws on the opponent nearby, even if the body is much further away on screen. Her other body-bending attacks combine with her feline tendencies, such as stretching like a kitty, taking her tail whip to the extreme by removing it and using it as a sword, and wrapping her muscle tissue around her opponent and playing with them as if they're a ball of yarn. God, if this game went for a more realistic art style, that could have been one of the most grotesque looking attacks in a fighting game. Number 3, Tawakaka from BlazBlue. BlazBlue has some of the best cat-themed characters, and while I love the cynicism of Kokinoe and the unexpected badassery of Jubei, I had to go with the first playable cat in the series with Tawakaka. I love nearly everything about her design. It has so much going on for it. Where do you even start? Her body-length pigtails, those massive yet stylish boots, the legs that I thought were pants this whole time but it ended up just being her bare legs since she never wears pants, or how about that lovable smile?
She has a scary face like none I've seen before except in my nightmares. What's her face really look like? Is that what it looks like underneath the hood, or is that just what the shadow looks like?
It's meant to be one of those mysteries we can never solve, like figuring out what's under Double D's hat, or why kids love the taste of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. While her sleeves are longer than they need to be, they actually have a purpose, since they hide her retractable claws, which are made of cold, solid steel that could theoretically and literally shred you a new one. combined with her hyperactive jumping around the screen, those claws are the most deadly aspect about her. I initially thought these were just her paws, but when she is shocked by electricity, we see the ends of her sleeves are actually placeholders for the fish that she's hoarding. Saving room for snacks is a priority, so I can sympathize. While Tawakaka's presence might be grating to some, I think she balances out some of her louder aspects with her genuinely charming innocence on how she's gonna beat up the bad guys without understanding the complex storylines going on in BlazBlue. And don't we need to just sit back and enjoy the simple story of a cat girl who wants to just punch bad things in the face every once in a while? Number 2, Felicia from Darkstalkers.
So is the white her fur, or is that a skin-tight suit?
Felicia doesn't conform to your societal human norms of clothing. That is strategically grown fur that covers her areas that would get her games a mature rating.
Oh, how does she feel about that?
She's just glad that she can walk around and be herself without the world judging.
Aw, I'm happy for her.
Even though she was raised by nuns, she still chooses to wear nothing. I'm not sure if this is just natural instinct or if there is a greater meaning to her lack of clothing options. She's clearly able to wear clothes based on her Darkstalkers 3 ending where she's wearing her nun outfit while running an orphanage. And apparently she sings the greatest hits from Ren and Stimpy with the kids. I guess I'll have to chalk up her manner of dress to her being a werecat. Catgirl? Unclear official name. We don't get much of a history on her race and what exactly they are outside of being part cat, but there are definitely a lot of them since they come to Felicia's assistance when she yells for everybody to help. Felicia is the most benevolent Darkstalker who just wants to make other people happy and jumpstart her music career. She hopes a secondary effect of potential fame would be a way to connect the conflicting Darkstalkers and humans. These aspirations are implied in other parts of her moveset, usually with her rolling and rapid scratch attacks doubling as dance numbers, enhanced by her yelling "Showtime" before performing. Many of her other attacks follow the general cat fighter guidelines, being nimble and quick, leaping all over the place, and using those massive paws to scratch up all who oppose. Also, she kicks sand in your face. Despite that, she's one of the nicest fighting game characters in history. Doing one character per franchise means we have a plethora of honorable mentions, so let's rocket through them without any explanation since this video's long enough already. Catwoman and Cheetah from Injustice, Toro and Kuro from Street Fighter Cross Tekken, Cat and Dusty from PlayStation All-Stars, Lucky Chloe and Armor King, he's like King but with armor, from Tekken, Black Orchid from Killer Instinct, Kokonoe, Jubei and Naga with Rachel Alucard from BlazBlue, Long, Shenlong and Sheena the Leopard from Bloody Roar, Nazuna and Akane Inuwaka from Arcana Heart, Katsutkami, Minot, Adon and probably some others that I'm forgetting about from Street Fighter, Lord Beerus from Dragon Ball FighterZ, Black Panther and Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, Voldo's Kitty Claws in Soul Calibur 5, and Honey the Cat from Sonic the Fighters. Whew, I think I've covered enough of them. Let's go to the top pick. Number 1 is a character that is closely associated with a member of the cat family. He may not be part cat or wear cat paraphernalia like many other entries on this list, but he is so embodied in his theme that he can bypass all other entries despite having nothing cat themed on his physical appearance. Number 1, Sagat, the Muay Thai Tiger King from Street Fighter.
Oh, does he turn into a cat?
Nope.
Does he have a cat?
Maybe. I don't know what his life's like at home. Probably not, but don't go literal with this entry. You'll know how much he relates to the tiger simply by listening to his battle cry when he fires out his signature tiger shots. All of his attacks have tiger in their name, whether you look at the tiger shot, tiger uppercut, tiger knee, or tiger destruction, just to name a few. Now these attacks don't relate to the mighty tiger because they claw at their opponent or show some form of nimbleness, but rather it's a more intrinsic meaning based on Sagat's fighting style and personality. Sagat's main rival is protagonist Ryu, who most closely relates to the dragon based on his Shoryuken, which translates to Dragon Punch. In Eastern Asian culture, the tiger and dragon are rivals due to their differences in ideology. While the dragon is considered soft, calm, and patient, reacting to when his opponent attacks, the tiger is considered hard or tough, wanting to prove its dominance by striking first and being more impulsive, usually lunging toward the dragon as a tiger would do to its prey. That's why some of Sagat's attacks, like the tiger knee, cover a large distance where he lunges forward. He's mastered the pounce, so he doesn't need those other wild tiger tactics to fight, like running at high speeds, grabbing with his teeth, or eating a delicious bowl of Kellogg's Frosted Flakes.
You like some cornflakes?
The impulsive nature of the tiger may also explain why Sagat has reacted on impulse various times throughout the series, like when he joined Shadaloo just to get a chance for revenge against Ryu for beating him and scarring his chest, or when he killed Go Hibiki in reaction to Go damaging Sagat's eye. But just as the tiger and dragon can represent harmony in the sense of yin and yang when they get along, Ryu and Sagat eventually became friendly rivals once Sagat realized that his pursuit of vengeance clouded his judgment. And if that metaphoric explanation still doesn't convince you why I put him as a quote-unquote cat, just pretend his default costume is his wild costume from Ultra Street Fighter IV, where he goes full-on Tiger Man.
Really? That's funny.
And that concludes Sagat. He may be a human with a ferocious feline name, but the pure symbolism behind it makes him my #1 cat family themed character in fighting games. So what did you think? Which fighting game characters that base their motif on the cat family do you like? Let me know in the comments. If you want to follow us outside of these videos, I'm on Twitter at MrTopTenList, and Judgment Meter has an art page where she paints anime characters and more on drink holders. Links to both in the description. Anyway, thank you all for watching. We will see you in the next video, and shoutouts to everyone else who suggested this topic whose names I did not get a chance to say out loud in the intro, being a tactician named Lucky Pikachu, Tate Anderson, Ultimate Killer Combat X, Weiss Blaze Yang, and Ice Lord Plays 7097. Take care now, everyone.